So there has been an update in Caitlin Clark's injury status, and it is A-OK for tomorrow's game. Plus, Ryan Ruocco appears on the Fieldhouse Files and talks to Scott Agnes about Caitlin Clark's ascent, how it was underrated, when Stephanie White realized that she was just this crazy phenomenon, and just so much more good stuff. Okay, so first off, let's talk about Caitlin's injury, because this is just something we should just get off the table. And in practice yesterday, she did bump knees with one of the guys that they were playing a scrimmage with. A lot of people started crashing out because, her health is of the utmost importance to so many people and, so many games and possibly even the whole league. I don't know. But there is no reason to fret because Caitlin Clark addresses the injury in a media interview today. And here is what she said.
Been limited in practice this week. Just how are you kind of working back from that leg injury?
Yeah, I think taking my time. I feel really good, honestly, and excited to get out there and play again tomorrow. Work on things that we need to work on, and yeah, Maria's been great. Our medical staff has been really helpful. But I feel really good, honestly.
What has it kept you from doing?
Sorry, what?
What has it kept you from doing?
Honestly, when I'm in practice, I'm full go. I'm not limited in any regard or whatever drills I'm in the last 2 days. I've been pretty active, and there's no reason to overdo anything right now. It's been the beginning of the season. Still don't play here for another week, but the last 2 days have been really, really good for myself.
You know where it started? What caused it to get her in the
I
first
don't.
place?
Probably just a little too much basketball. I think, I love being in the gym, but I think understanding when to be in the gym and, when to recover and things like that. So I think just finding a balance and obviously just getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, it was nothing major or anything like that.
Good news, folks. Caitlin Clark has not missed one professional game. I don't even know if she's missed a game in 4 years, actually. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think in the past 4 years, she hasn't missed one game. So, her missing that first game kind of has a lot of people on the edge of their seat. But you know what? Her health is of the utmost importance. We all want to see her play. We all want to see the flashy passes, and who knows what she'll bring to the Atlanta Dream game on Saturday, of which I am going to do a watch along with Venom. I will post an update after I make this video, and feel free to hop in the chat. I do get kind of extra when I watch games because they make me very excited, as was on display when Sydney Colson made that flashy behind the back pass. You don't even want to see what I did when Caitlin made that logo bomb. So yeah, feel free to hop in the live for the watch along. Venom and I, we're just going to be, chopping it up, especially during the commercial breaks. I think during the game, I'm going to be calling a lot more of the plays and what's happening, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. Moving on to Ryan Ruocco. So he was talking to Scott Agnes, who is a local Indiana reporter. He reports on the Pacers. He reports on the Indiana Fever. And he has a podcast called the Fieldhouse Files, which I will put in the link below if you are interested in hearing the entire podcast. We're just going to go over some of the highlights from the podcast that I that I kind of thought were interesting. One of which being how Ryan Ruocco feels Caitlin's ascent has been a bit underrated for what she's actually accomplished in the league. So let's just take a listen.
I think Caitlin knows that Rebecca, Holly, and I have really taken great care to try and tell her story accurately and build her up to our audience as the great star that she is, and she knows how passionate we are about what we do and how serious we are about it. And so Caitlin she'll interact with us at different times. And so as she hit that three, she was kind of giving a smile afterwards to us at the table. So then there was a little point back and forth just to acknowledge how ridiculous that shot was, and her once again living up to the hype of that moment. And I think that's one thing that has kind of been underrated in Caitlin's ascent. And I said it on the broadcast the other day. It's that every time the audience seems to be invited in and broadened, Caitlin delivers. And so then they're further hooked, and then they tell more people to come. You think about during her runs to the national championship game, people are like, oh, have you heard about Caitlin Clark? Yeah, let me watch her. And then she drops 40, and it's like, oh my gosh, she just continually delivers. and almost over delivers on the expectations that have been set for her. And I think that's part of what's added to the lore and the mystique around her. And she is an awesome person who has handled everything with grace and class. And I feel so lucky to get to be a part of documenting her career. And it's the coolest thing that I do right now in my professional life. And I just have such a great appreciation for her. And I think, she has an appreciation for, the passion I have for getting to document her career.
Imagine being like the announcer, because it's him, Rebecca Lobo, Holly Rowe. Those are like the three people that have always kind of like really supported and backed her, the ascent of her career, and just recognize the kind of like the unusualness that Caitlin Clark is, like what she's doing. Like she just decides to pull up like from 36 feet away in the first game that she's in, and she delivers. And that is absolutely true. She delivers. She is a showman. And I don't know how many times I can say this. And that you bet, I mean, I'm sure it's like licensed and all that stuff. And you might hear it in somebody's intro on somebody's channel underneath layers of other audio. And I don't know whose channel. Wink, wink. And this is really fun. Ryan Ruocco actually had a conversation with Steph White and about when she actually realized like the magnitude of Caitlin Clark's gravity. And this was back in her junior year of college. And here's what here's what Ryan Ruocco said that Stephanie White said about that.
So, like, even the other day, we didn't get to use this story on air, but Steph White was telling us a story before the preseason game in Iowa about the first time she really fully understood the magnitude of Caitlin's fan base. And she was doing a game on the road at, I believe it was Maryland.
Yeah.
And the fans that had gathered in the lobby and the crowd was so intense that it created such traffic around the hotel that it took her 45 minutes to get to the arena, which was about a half mile away. and this was her junior year. And so it was the first time she really realized, oh my gosh, this is something extraordinary.
I think Ryan Ruocco just really understands like what a lucky position he's in to be covering women's basketball, to be covering it in such a, historic time of change. It is the WNBA is absolutely turned upside down on its head. And there are so many people that are benefiting from this. Like the new rookie class, like there is, I think 9 out of 12 of the top selling jerseys are rookies from this season or the ones from last season. That's 9 out of 12. That is the effect that, Caitlin Clark brought into the league, She affects the bottom line. She affects viewership. She affects the excitement about the game just all around. But let's take a listen to what Ryan Ruocco says about the Fever actually possibly winning a championship this year.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this is a group that's capable of winning a championship. Obviously, Scott, a million things have to go right in order for that to happen. But the roster is capable, and thought Indiana did an amazing job in reloading around Caitlin, getting players who run the floor, strengthening their defense, just building their depth. I think a player like Sophie Cunningham is wildly underrated from the offseason acquisition.
Actually, there were so many people who weren't really hyped on Sophie Cunningham coming to the team. A lot of fans, actually. And, I saw it in the social media space. Like, a lot of fans totally changed their mind after that first game that she had. But let's move on.
And what she can bring to this team, the way she runs, her toughness, her shooting ability, I think she's going to be a huge factor. Obviously, the way DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard run the floor, play both sides. Sydney Colson's veteran presence, as well as the other players I mentioned. And Caitlin, we saw what she did last year. We saw the way Aaliyah and Kelsey played last year, the way Lexi came along. It's a really, I think, well-constructed core. And I think the players that they brought in are great accessories to Caitlin's abilities and Aaliyah's and Kelsey's. And so I think, sky's the limit. I don't think they're the favorites to win it all. I would still put New York, Vegas, and Minnesota ahead of them in that category. Mm-hmm. But I absolutely think it is possible for this team to win a championship. And, one thing we've consistently seen from Caitlin over the last few years is her ability to lift her team to wins. That's really the greatest part of her legacy up to this point, is the way she affects winning. And I think that that's something that, should make us think very seriously about their ability to win championships. The fact that she affects winning in a way that usually exceeds what people are projecting. So, a long way to go. Obviously, you got to stay healthy. You got to have that chemistry. Also, you got to have, you got to have that ability to, kind of withstand some tough times and go through the chaos of a season. But, the way the roster is constructed on paper, there's no reason to think that this team can't be playing late into October.
Absolutely. It's, for me, there's almost no doubt that they're going to be playing late into October. It is, there are definitely going to be games that they're going to lose. Like, every team goes through that. I forgot who was talking about this. Somebody was talking about how it's so different than college that way. Like, you're not playing mid-major teams. You're playing the cream of the crop. And, bad teams are going to have good games and good teams are going to have bad games. I mean, last season, the Fever went and destroyed the New York Liberty. And then in the very next game, they were destroyed by the Washington Mystics. It is not predictable every time. I did agree with this placement about how it's going to be hard to beat New York, how it's going to be hard to beat Minnesota, although I do think that Angel Reese is Nafisa Collier's kryptonite, to be completely honest. I think it is definitely going to be hard to beat the Aces at times. And remember, the Aces were the only team to shut out the Fever last season. But I'm predicting, and could go both ways. I'm predicting that the Fever are going to seed above the Aces this year, but they do have their work cut out for them in battling the New York Liberty and in battling the Minnesota Lynx. But I also see this as a total possibility that this core could be in the finals. And let me tell you, those are going to be some astronomical viewership numbers if that does happen. And maybe just one more thing. Caitlin was just asked in another media interview about how she felt about wearing Prada. And it was kind of funny because I don't think that those are the types of questions that Caitlin likes to answer. I don't think that fashion is her number one priority when she's doing anything, actually. I think that, her answer was that she just wears what her stylist tells her to wear and she kind of moves on. You can kind of tell by the way that she is and the way that she acts that, that isn't the thing that she wants to talk about the most. And in the media interview, the Fever media people go, no singing, no Prada. And in today's media interview with Caitlin, I think the Fever kind of banned anything about singing, anything about Prada or fashion. And Caitlin very much appreciated it.
No singing?
No singing or Prada, no.
That was weird.
Thank you. I appreciate the basketball question.
Go ahead.
So yeah, let's keep it basketball talk with Caitlin Clark. And those are some of today's updates. Tonight, the Liberty play the Connecticut Sun, which I anticipate they will be blowing them out of the water, but you never know because the Sky beat the Liberty by 30 or 50 points in the last preseason game, which was quite a shocker. But I have ranked the Connecticut Sun to be last in my power ranking. No offense, Connecticut Sun. No offense, Marina Mabry. But it was just a hard roster to work with, I think, this season. I think that they are definitely going to be building into the next few years. But tomorrow, the Indiana Fever play the Atlanta Dream. Caitlin Clark will be in. Jordan Canada will be out. Sadly went out with a knee injury right in the beginning of the last game. But we'll see Tahina Pow. I think we might even see Cheyenne Sellers in there for the Atlanta Dream, and I'm looking forward to it. And again, just another plug that I will be going live. I will be doing a watch along with Venom Reacts. So hop in the chat if you want to talk, and I will see you tomorrow.